election. Some of the policies I believe in are scrapping the free trade agreements with China, who uses slave labour, or India that uses bonded children, or America that pays subsidies to their industries while denying ours like beef and sugar access and expecting us to let them access here unhindered, and they call that free trade when it clearly isn't. I believe we need to start looking after our apprentices and paying them a bit more money than the dole. Start looking after our workers and stop importing cheap temporary labour from overseas. We need to have our schools and technical colleges teaching real skills, not degrees in origami and rock music, but stuff that will develop the country. We need to start training our own doctors, pay them a scholarship, $100,000 a year for 10 years. $1 billion then gives you 1,000 trainee doctors. Spend $1 billion in every state and you've got no problems with doctors in this country, instead of poaching third world doctors from countries that can't afford them. We need to have our health system fixed with the bulk billing of dental services so that oral health can be a reasonable cost to most people, instead of as it is now out of the reach of most people. I believe that we need to have the government release more land in ballots of Crown land so that we can have somewhere for a house. In a country with so much land, it's a crime that the average person has to pay so much for a small block of suburbia. I believe we need to look after people with disabilities and provide more for disability services and infrastructure. We need to have tax incentives for single income families so that one parent can stay at home and look after the children instead of sending them off to daycare if they so choose. I believe that we need for the public schools to receive the greatest share of education dollars, and for mandatory drug testing for politicians and police and judges. We test athletes and drivers as they go down the road, yet judges and politicians and police have no such requirement put on them. They can lay around all day in the parliamentary lounge and then make laws all night. I believe in the right for citizens to be armed. We pay for the police to carry arms for self-defence, and if the servant can't be greater than the master, then we should be allowed to have it too. Punish the criminals and give them realistic sentences for crimes. Don't punish the honest citizen. I believe in capital punishment. John Luthwaite murdered a 5-year-old girl after he broke into her bedroom to abduct and sexually assault her brother. He's now walking the streets again, and we've got police walking around behind him making sure that he doesn't do it again. That's not responsibility for actions, and it's not justice. We need to stop foreign aid and only send out essential foreign aid. That doesn't include the 2,000 schools that we're building for Indonesia, nor the hundreds of millions of dollars we recently gave them interest-free to build roads. While we prop up these incompetent foreign governments, we're not helping their citizens and we're robbing our own. I believe with our infrastructure under stress, we need to reduce our immigration levels down from 150,000 a year. I also believe that Muslim immigration should be stopped altogether. This isn't about race or colour, it's about the ideology. In 1942 we settled no emperor worshippers, fascists or Nazis into this country because we didn't like the ideology. Now we have the King of Sword come out here. He builds mosques and he builds schools and he buys up all sorts of things. Yet a non-Muslim cannot even visit Mecca. They can't open a school there or a church, and if they manage to convert one of his subjects, he has them beheaded. We're not doing ourselves any favours here. We need to have a look at what's happened in Europe and other countries where unfettered Muslim immigration has occurred. It's about the ideology. Osama bin Laden and the suicide bombers in England were doctors and middle class people. They weren't crazy tribesmen. The common denominator was the belief. I believe that we need to have federally funded driving courses for year 12s. It's no good giving them L plates and P plates and all sorts of restrictions if they don't have the basic skills in the first place. We need free speech for citizens and free speech for the press. We need freedom of information laws where you get the information without having to pay a fortune to the government. Over $1 million has been quoted as one figure to get information on politicians' travel allowances and rorts. We need public utilities like power and gas and electricity to remain in public hands. Water infrastructure needs to stay in public hands. We don't need desalination plants letting multinationals charge us a fortune to give us a drink. We need governments to step up to the mark and pipe the water down from up north. We piped the water from Perth to Kalgoorlie, 560 kilometres in 1903. That pipeline still goes. We hadn't had a decent infrastructure project here since the Snowy River scheme. That was 50 years ago. We need to have big ticket items, not politically expedient things for vote grabbing. We need to have a sunset date for the land claims and reconciliation process. Everyone's sorry about what happened to the Aboriginals, but it's time to move on. It's time to be one nation under one flag. We need to increase our national reforestation program. That doesn't mean taking the land off people, but it means encouraging them to plant trees, not converting state land into national parks. We need to look after our country, but we don't need to be so slavishly green that we can't develop it. I believe in the innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. So we need to get rid of these laws that allow the police to lift us off the streets with no charges, all in the name of the war on terror. We need to have trial by juries, not just lifted away on the bill of a government, whereas the minister decides who's locked up and who's not. If elected as a representative of the people of Hinkler, I will endeavour to represent them all. I will put my nation first above all others. I will not sign international treaties that remove our sovereign rights and give it to bureaucrats on the other side of the world. And I would urge all Australians to stand up and be counted on voting day. We have it now in the Senate, where only the parties are above the line. They get one tick. The independents have to have everybody box ticked. It's geared against the little man. We need to have patriots, not party politicians, running the country. While we've got the idea that only a two-party system can run the country, all we're going to do is continue to run it down into the ground and have more and more rights taken. Please, I urge you, exercise your right to vote on polling day. Thank you.